At this time, I call our meeting for June 8th, 2026 to order. If you'd please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, if you would please conduct the roll call. Here.
Present. Here. Here. Here.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move to the approval of the minutes from April 8th, 13th, and May 28th. Does council have any amendments or modifications for the minutes? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say yes. All right, motion carries. Thank you. At this time, we will move to the approval and amendments to the agenda. Does council have any amendments to this evening's agenda?
I move to amend the agenda by removing consent agenda item IC, ratify professional service agreement with USISS agency, placing it for separate discussion under new business immediately following item N, since N directly addresses the underlying procurement question.
Is there a second? All right, hearing none, motion dies. Are there any other considerations of amendments for the agenda this evening?
Madam Mayor, I would move to strike the following from the agenda. Under new business, I would move to strike G as in golf, I, J, K, L, M, N,
That's the whole alphabet.
O, P, Q,
Yes.
R, S from tonight's agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as amended?
Point of order.
Councilman Davis?
I demand a division of the amendments, the questions.
He wants each of the items separated for an individual vote.
This is part of our adopted rules and procedure.
Is it, did you ask a question?
Yes.
Is it, I don't know, Franz, do they have to divide them out? We have a motion and a second on the floor at this time, point not taken. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as amended?
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Davis?
removing this, it's going to kill basically 70% of the, almost 70% of the cut that every Washington family deserves. So I request that each item be done individually, and so you could take a vote on each item, please.
Okay. Well, right now we do have a motion and a vote on the floor. So if the board would like to not pass this motion, we can certainly consider a modification in how the new motion is done. But at this time, we do have a motion on the floor and a second, so a vote has to be taken. So all those in favor of adopting the agenda with or accepting those amendments? Okay. All those opposed? All right, motion carries. All right. So at this time, we will move on to our consent agenda. Does council have any? Otherwise, I will stand by for a motion. if there's not any questions.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda as it stands.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Davis?
before we approve, we're approving a consent agenda
Point of order.
Councilman Tyree?
that has an item that didn't go through
Point of
RFP
order.
process.
Councilman Davis?
So on the first day of
Point
our
of order.
meeting,
Councilman
we
Davis?
said that every item should go through a RFP process, but now we're avoiding that.
Councilman Davis? Councilman Tyree? What was your point of order?
After a motion and a second, then there's open for discussion. That's what I was gonna say.
Point well taken.
So I believe there's a motion and a second on the table, so.
Yep. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda motion?
Yeah, we've got an item on the consent agenda to ratify professional service agreement with USISS agency. I think we clearly decided on day one of council that we weren't going to enter any contracts with outside services without going through the RFP process. I believe Max Perrault and his fellow majority made those rules. So I would just like for us to continue along that path on this issue, please.
Any other comments from council? Okay. Here,
It's
Oh.
council member, but this was agreed upon by the board. This is for ratification after general consensus was given. You were given proper notification, just like all of us, and there was nothing raised until now. This is political showboating and grandstanding, and it's not what the community deserves. Let's have a good meeting for once.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis?
So we agree to continue going through the RFP process, hiring people without going through the RFP process as we originally decided we had to do on day one when you drug the man with the electric agency through the mud. And we don't even have a total amount on this ISS agreement. So it's $125 an hour and there's no total amount. So I feel like there should be a total amount. And who wrote this contract as well?
I'd
Any
like to
other,
call the question.
is there a second?
What's the original motion?
Councilman Perrault has called the question to end debate.
Second then.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor of ending debate on this matter? Ending the debate, yep, okay. All those opposed? All right, motion carries. At this time, we are back to our main item, which is the motion on the floor is to adopt the consent agenda as it is before you. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, all those opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, at this time, we will move to comments from the public. If you signed up to speak this evening on an item of our agenda that has now been removed, there's certainly no pressure to come to the podium. When your name is called, you can simply remain in your seat if you no longer wish to speak. And I will take a moment to remind everyone that when you come up to the podium, please give your name and your address. When you are finished speaking, please step away from the podium and be seated. Individuals will be provided 3 minutes to speak, and those representing a group will be provided 5 minutes. First this evening is Bo Daniel. Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Thank you, Chris. Next this evening, we have West Overman.
Good evening. My name's Wes Overman, 404 Lodge Road. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Wes Overman. I'm co-president of the Washington Youth Baseball League. Here tonight to share some thoughts regarding the two removed proposals, but I'm going to go ahead and share my thoughts anyway, brought forward by Councilman Davis that have a direct impact on youth sports in Washington. First, the Washington Youth Baseball League is a volunteer-run organization. Aside from city attendants, field maintenance personnel, and staff coordinating these groups, we currently provide all the manpower needed to run our organization. Our volunteers have jobs, other life commitments, and a desire to watch their own kids participate in our programs. We do not support cutting city positions that require us to perform the additional tasks that doing so would necessitate. We do wholeheartedly support additional investment in youth sports. We believe that youth sports programs are vital to encouraging young families to live in and around Washington. However, the methods of investment behind the proposal should be reconsidered. First, the proposed distributions are not applied fairly or proportionately. This spring, we have 327 participants, and last fall we had 114, a total of 441 during your current fiscal year. My understanding is that some leagues serving fewer participants would receive greater funding from the city. Also, keep in mind that baseball and softball are lumped together as in the proposal. We are separate entities, and based on the proposal would receive the lowest amount of funding each. We also represent a sport that comes with higher costs, whether it is participant-supplied equipment, game official fees, etc. Distributions should not be arbitrarily determined or be politically influenced, but should be based on the number of participants and/or should reflect the cost of participation. Second, we pay the city per participant each season that we operate. This proposal, as written, would essentially mean that given our current participation levels, we would write a check to the city, and the city would turn around and send it right back to us. If we're playing this game, it makes much more sense to cut or drastically reduce the participant fees we're required to pay to the city. Cutting these fees would allow our league to reduce our registration fees, which would likely increase our participation numbers and impact on the community. Lastly, related directly to the second proposal on the agenda, our youth sports leagues would benefit greatly from the ability to sell advertising at the McConnell Sports Complex. The Washington Youth Baseball League fully supports any effort that allows us to do this fundraising opportunity. We have found it to be challenging to sell sponsorships that do not offer any businesses a tangible benefit. Our league is committed to providing the best program that we can for our participants. We spend a significant portion of our lives to make sure that that happens. We want to work with the city, and we always welcome collaboration on the topic. However, throwing together proposal after proposal without first involving the stakeholders in the process is not the way to achieve this goal and provide the impact that we should all strive to make on the youth of this community. I'll end with this. I understand that all of this comes down to a mathematical equation. You all are trying to match dollars and cents to the goals that you have, and ultimately, you can work the numbers of this equation as you wish. If you succeed in accomplishing your goal, congratulations, you did the right thing. However, you did the thing right, but did you do the right thing? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Overman. Next this evening, we have Eric Ford.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm here to speak about some comments that were made the last meeting with the town manager and what's being proposed by a few council members. Far as rates go, as electric rates, and comments that were made that the county has to pay a higher electric rate than the city, I'm asking you guys to question that, why we already pay, I think it's 5% more than the city now. I want y'all to think about the lines are there, the power's there. We've had this, and we already pay 5% more. Yeah, I understand Duke goes up, the rate has to go up, but it needs to be town-wide, a customer base-wide, not just county residents having to pick up for a lower city tax, trying to get the money from the electric rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Next, we have Celeste Ipoc. I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly.
One of the things I have has been removed from the agenda, but I still want to comment on it. Washington City employees cannot afford a 40% contribution to health insurance. With this economy now, it's tough on a two-parent family home, especially a single-parent family home. The new city manager directs employees that have taken 5 or more sick days in a year to sign forms that if they called in one time, that they get written up. Employees with the city of Washington earn 8 sick days a month, 8 sick hours a month. 5 to 8 days in a year is not excessive, especially if you're a single parent. Children have dental appointments twice a year for cleanings, plus they have a well checkup. They also, the parent has medical appointments, and they also have dental appointments for cleanings. 5 to 8 days in a year is not excessive. City of Washington will be losing a lot of valued employees to DOT, county, or neighboring city jobs. These employees, sewer, water, trash, City of Washington, police, fire, EMS, and et cetera, work hard in dangerous situations, cold and the heat, to make Washington beautiful and to make it inviting for visitors to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Next this evening is Shannon Russell.
Shannon Russell, 746 West Main Street. Next month, our nation will celebrate 250 years of American self-government. The founders of this country understood that democracy is difficult work. They warned against factionalism, political division, and leaders who place self-interest ahead of responsibility. Our founders designed a system that depends upon compromise, collaboration, accountability, and informed decision-making within our elected body. The reality is that governance is not a Facebook advertisement. It's not a campaign slogan. Governance requires compromise. It requires collaboration. It requires respect for professional staff, careful review of financial data, and honest conversations with the public about difficult choices. This council is currently operating with a vacant seat following the resignation of Councilman Nick Fritz. The process of filling that vacancy has been further complicated by the ethical guidance provided by the UNC School of Government, indicating that our mayor should not participate in selecting a replacement while maintaining active litigation against the city. This situation serves as a powerful reminder that governing requires more than campaign rhetoric. It requires adherence to ethical standards, respect for statutes and ordinances, the ability to accept public scrutiny, and a willingness to navigate difficult issues responsibly and transparently. Today, the 4 remaining members of this council are faced with an important decision. They may choose to appoint someone to fill the vacant seat. They may choose to leave the seat vacant until the next regular election in 2027, or they may choose to pursue a special election to fill the vacancy. Regardless of which path is selected, the people of Washington deserve leadership, transparency, and a timely decision. As we approach the 250th anniversary of our great nation, we should remember that our founders entrusted the future of this republic not to political parties, not to political PACs, not to wealthy interests, not to campaign slogans, but to informed citizens and accountable leaders. The people of Washington deserve leadership that places service above self-interest, facts above rhetoric, and governing above campaigning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Russell. Next this evening, we have Cherie Clark.
Mayor Brabo, council members, I'm here to talk about taxes. I know that you've changed agenda items. That's your choice. This is what I have to say about it. My taxes in 2024 on a property here in Washington was my home. 2025, they were assessed at a whopping 40%. If here in 2026 you vote to raise my taxes 23%, you will have priced me and thousands of city residents out of their budget to do anything outside of survival. Many are selling their properties from last year's increase, so how many more residents will be leaving with this proposed hike? Washington residents will be put in a position of risk with this great tax burden. What risk? Ask any real estate person. If you can't pay your property tax, your home can be taken from you. Have any of you ever lost your home? Have any of you been in a position by elected officials to live in a state of stress to this degree before? Either way, it's not progress. It's poor economic judgment. I could say a lot about the exponential growth of this city government and the higher than average salaries of some of the leadership with a declining population in the city limits of Washington. This is how you crush a local economy. It is how to damage or destroy older citizens' ability to function in the days they have left after a lifetime of hard work. It is theft. It creates a level of stress that my very wise diagnostic RN mother said, hard work never hurts anyone, but stress can kill you. This is what this tax hike will do. In 2025, I talked to a lot of those people that were concerned about this, who are in that boat. Pay taxes or give young people in your family a financial blessing. There's your question mark. Pay taxes or repair your home. Pay taxes or get medical care. That's where you're putting people. If you campaigned on tax relief and today you vote to increase taxes, then you lied to the public to get elected. It is selfish. Of this evident to you? Do you understand governance is about and needs to be about the people, the citizens who voted? A budget should reflect that priority. Cut our taxes now.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark. Next this evening, we have Betsy Kane.
Hello. Betsy Kane, good evening. Mayor and council members, I live at 302 East 2nd Street. I'm here speaking on behalf of the East 2nd Street Coalition. I'd like to claim the full 5 minutes for our group. You have before you a resolution on the agenda tonight to make June Nuclear Family Month. I will speak in favor of another option. Whither thou goest, there I will go. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. These words are often quoted in marriage ceremonies, but they were not spoken by a husband and wife. Rather, as told in the Old Testament, the widow Ruth uttered them to her widowed mother-in-law, Naomi, pledging her commitment and loyalty to her unto death. This vow, one of the greatest expressions of sacrificial love, loyalty, and commitment in literature, history, or scripture, in an Old Testament filled with patriarchs and endless begats and tens of thousands of nameless concubines and multiple wives, the compilers of the book of Ruth honored these two women specially for their lifelong bond. Not only was Ruth important in Scripture as the first convert to Judaism in history, but she was the connection of the lineage of Christ with the house of David. The nuclear family, on the other hand, is a very recent concept with origins in 20th century industrial society. It has no particular foundation in history or the Bible before that. For the millennia of humanity, families have consisted of grandparents, stepchildren, adoptive children and parents, maiden aunts and bachelor uncles, even close friends and godparents who became virtual members or physical members of a household. In the biblical faith, the nuclear family is not documented. Rather, the scriptures depict extended families, tribes, households with complex blended families, polygamy, and chosen kinships. The life of Christ, for example, took place and ended within the context of his extended family. His adoptive, not biological father was Joseph. His mother's cousin, Elizabeth, was the mother of his cousin, John the Baptist, the man who baptized him. And there was arguably no more important person among Christ's chosen associates, Christ, who remained unmarried and childless. Fast forward to the here and now. In Washington today, on my own street, in the East 2nd Street Coalition, my neighbors and families include grandparents living with their adult children and young grandchildren in the same home. Same-sex married couples, families that have a foster child, households that provide a safe haven for kids who have been rejected by their own biological parents. My own family. My parents' 61-year marriage, not 51, 6-1, would not be complete without grandmothers who lived with our families or cared for grandchildren whose parents were missing or incapable. I treasure having grown up with cousins who were indeed like brothers or sisters. Extended families are real, not theoretical. Here in Washington, we have parents raising kids that the other parent abandoned, and they're doing a great job. We have grandparents and godparents and step-parents today, just like through all of history. To call out the nuclear family, which no one even heard of before about 1940 or 50, is exclusionary, divisive, and frankly, just weird. Yesterday, I was at a remembrance of life, attended by 200 people, most of them Washingtonians. They gathered to honor the departed and his husband. The lifelong commitment of this couple was a model for any marriage or family. They endured through sickness and health. They married before the state even legally would recognize their union. They committed, absolute pillars of this community who built a beautiful life together, and it was knit with the civic life of this city. When the surviving spouse of this couple cared for their loved one through years of the most heartbreaking illness and disability, we must honor that as the highest example of love and loyalty and family. Let us therefore honor their commitment and the commitment of all other loving families that make up the strong fabric of our city. I urge you, if you pass this resolution, let it be to honor June as All Families Month in Washington. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kane. Next this evening, we have Stan Dethridge.
Councilman, Mayor, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak to you tonight. Generally, I sit up there over at the county, just down the street from you, and I hear from our citizens. and they speak on a myriad of issues. Lately, they have not been talking about taxes. Lately, they have not been talking about budget. They have not been talking about oversight. They haven't been talking about wise policy, prudent policy. I wish they would, but they haven't. We haven't had a 28% increase in 1 year like you guys did last year. Now, you got 3 new people up here and 2 that were here before, when on a year we had a revaluation and you were supposed to be revenue neutral, at least that's what we do at the county level. It went up 28% in 1 year. That's a lot. That's a lot. I've been paying taxes in Washington since 1985. I've been living in Washington as an adult since 1984. That's a long time. That's 41 years paying taxes. Washington's taxes, the city of Washington taxes, are not low by any stretch of the imagination. They are high. We've had property values increase. A lot of you know that. I sit on the Board of Equalization and Review for the county. I see it at every meeting. I'm there. Property values have gone up astronomically in the last number of years. That means your tax base has gone up. You're bringing more money in. You need to give the people their money back. At the county level, our tax base went up for ad valorem taxes by $4.7 million. Yet we did not give the money back. I voted against the budget. I voted against 26 budgets. Why? Because either taxes went up or we did not cut enough waste, fraud, and abuse, and it is there. I've been doing this since 1994, off and on. I see it. I see it deliberately done, and as more and more employees get hired, which is economic development for some, we, the taxpayers, pay more and more and more for services we do not get or do not need. So I'm going to ask you to revisit your budget. Please knock some of that 28% off. You don't have to do it all in 1 year. Do enough. Do enough so there won't be that outcry. Okay? If it happened at the county level, and if I had a majority on that board, we would do it. I'm in a minority. I'm a conservative Republican. Not a lot of us in Beaufort County. A lot of Republicans, not a lot of conservative Republicans. But where there's a will, there's a way. There is waste, fraud, and abuse in every government. It's here, it's at the county level. I see it. So I'm asking you, please, do your jobs. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if you would,
Yes, Councilman Tyree.
could we get County Commissioner back to the platform for a second, please? And I know we don't normally do this part, but since you're an
No, we don't
elected
either.
official, welcome. Welcome to Washington. There was a tax reevaluation done at the county level, correct?
Yes.
When was that done?
Last year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago.
Maybe 2 years it was started,
Okay,
roughly.
roughly. Year and a half ago, 2 years. When the outcome of that reevaluation is it presented to the city or is it presented to you as a county?
It's presented only to the county.
Only to the county.
Yes.
Is it presented as a recommendation or is it presented as statute? We found this to be so you must or you shall move forward with what we present.
It is presented through statute. Now, the commissioners have the right to change values as we wish, but we are responsible to the taxpayers for the values that we change. We can be hauled into court and told we owe that money if we gave special privileges to certain people.
Right.
Can't do that,
Absolutely not.
and we swear against that.
Right. Special privileges is absolutely not a thing.
Absolutely.
It should not happen,
Should
right?
not happen.
So, but what I heard you say to us tonight was that when it's presented through statute because, you know, there's statute there that there must be,
Machinery Act.
right. But you don't have to accept it.
Yes, we do, pretty much, or we got to go back to the beginning. We've already spent about $1.5 million. Generally, what we do is we accept it, and then we work on it. And we look for aberrations. We look
Right.
for anomalies. And if it's consistent through a neighborhood, we let it slide.
Right.
I'm seeing property values go up a lot in Washington. I'm seeing homes sell for, worth over $1.5 million.
Right. Yeah. Same here.
I saw a house, some of you may be familiar with, sell for close to $1 million, and you're putting $900,000 roughly of work in it,
Yeah.
just
So-
tearing it apart.
Yeah.
So that house will have an effective value of about $1.8, $1.9 million in town of Washington without waterfront.
Okay.
This is
so,
remarkable.
So again, my question is though, you said that you must accept the reevaluation results and move that towards the county as a whole. So whatever the evaluator presents to the county, you must accept that.
We must accept it as a condition of being wise. Like I said before, do you want to go back and reevaluate it again and pay for another reevaluation just because you throw it out ad
Thank
hoc?
you. Great question. But my question is,
Yes.
my question is this. If you had the opportunity to push back or to provide a better scope of understanding to the assessor, why did you not do it? But yet you're standing in front of the, one second.
Yes.
But yet you're standing in front of the city council telling us our jobs. However, though, when it comes to taxes, I'm not quite understanding that when it was presented to commissioners, you didn't push back to get it lowered.
Thank you for that question. I'm going to give you an answer now.
Great, thank you.
I think you've got a misidentified understanding of what the job is for elected leaders. Reevaluation, please let me finish. Reevaluation comes every 8 years, here in Beaufort County, 7 years, and it comes whether you want it or not. We pay close to 1.5, 1.6 million for this mass appraisal. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for me to say, okay, taxpayers, it wasn't exactly right. We're not going to be able to fix it, so we're going to do another one. I'm not going to do that. What we do
So you
is
pick money
excuse me.
over citizens.
What?
So you pick the amount over the citizens, but then you come to the city and tell us that we're
No,
we're not doing our
I'm
jobs.
still not finished.
I
I'm
understand,
answering
but
all
like,
the points of your question.
you're over there,
You're
but you're over
adding
here
to your
tonight.
question. You see
You're over
your-
here tonight.
What?
You're over here tonight.
Yes.
When I go over there, it's a different story. You're over here tonight. So you came up before the city council to tell us what our jobs are
Yes.
based on taxes. But this is
Yes.
the tax reevaluation that you accepted as a county commissioner that went out countywide to include the individuals that live here in the city of Washington. So those same house quotes and those same appraisals that you're spewing here at the desk
Yes.
came based on the assessment
Do you
that
understand-
you accepted, right?
Yes. Do you understand revenue neutral? Do you
What is the
understand that?
amount? What is the amount per penny that you get as the county?
I'm sorry, what?
Per penny,
Per ping?
penny, penny, penny,
Penny.
penny.
I don't know, it's around $700,000.
What is the penny equated to for the city of Washington?
The mill rate of a penny? Is that what you're talking about?
You just answered it, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I'm back
But
to
what's
you
the
again.
question? What's the new question?
So the next question is, what is the value of a penny for the city of Washington?
I wouldn't know that. You should know that.
Oh, I know it. That's why I'm asking you, because you came up here to tell us our jobs. You stepped out of the county commissioner role to come before us to tell us our jobs.
You're arguing that if the tax values had not gone up, you wouldn't have raised taxes last year? You did. And you said you understood revenue neutral, or did you not answer that? Revenue neutral means you lower the tax rate. We dropped our tax rate.
That's not what revenue
down to-
neutral means.
Yes, it does, 100%. If the property values go up, that's the math. It went up. Revenue neutral means you're only going to bring X amount of dollars in.
What does
You're not
revenue
gonna
neutral
say, well,
mean?
we're going to bring more in because the value went up. You don't do that.
Help me
You lower the
understand.
tax rate.
What does revenue neutral
That's a political
mean?
issue for you politicians.
What does
That's you
revenue
do.
neutral mean?
What?
But as another politician coming into here, then my question to you, as you're teaching me my job, and then
Yes, I
I will
am.
yield back after this. What does revenue neutral mean? What's the definition of revenue neutral?
I just gave you the definition of revenue neutral.
The definition of revenue neutral does not taxes go down. What's the definition of revenue neutral? Mr. Commissioner.
Okay, I will agree. If your property value goes down, and it did not, it went up a tremendous amount in Beaufort County, then quite frankly, you could raise a tax rate and still be at revenue neutral. That's the way math works. It kind of goes in like jello.
I've never done math like this.
You never? Well, that's the way it works. You've never done the engineering either, have you? You have negatives and you have positives.
Thank you, Mr. Dethridge.
Yes, ma'am. Let me just say one more thing. This is why we don't ask questions of people to make comments, because you may find out the guy making the comments is smarter than you are.
Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis,
Oh,
I think we're done with this
Mr.
line. of-
Dethers, may I ask you a couple questions as well?
No, we're done with this line of questioning. We're going to move on to the next person in our public.
From 2018 to 2025, you've been doing this a really long time, more than this whole board combined. So you've got a breadth of experience that this board doesn't possess. From 2018 to 25, we had a 70% payroll increase in the city of Washington budget. Is that, from your 30-plus years of experience, is that very common?
It is a little bit common because the county's done pretty much the same thing. Back in the late 1990s, we had about 290 employees. Now we have about 435 and 130 or 40 part-time employees. We have way too many employees at
So
the
you
county
went
level, and you
290
have
to
too many at the
430?
city level.
Did the population increase in
No,
both
it
the county
has not.
justify it?
It has not. It's gone down for the city, and it's gone down for the county.
And we've got a 53% tax revenue increase since 2020, when we ended in 2025 to now, from 4.6 million to 6.9 million, instead of doing that revenue neutral and giving it back. And it would have been great, because me and Max and Nick and Ellen, we wouldn't be sitting here if they would have done the revenue neutral, and my life would be a lot easier. But this is why I'm here, but I guess we forget, so.
Yeah, and I think, lest you forget, I mean you from the editorial sense, 28%, that's a lot. That's never,
Thank you,
that's
Mr.
unheard of in
Dethridge.
this county or any other adjoining county.
Thank you, Mr.
Or this
Dethridge.
region.
All right, next this evening, we have David Clark.
Hi, I'm David Clark, 401 East Main Street. This past election, from my working on it, the number one issue was the taxes going up. And what I am seeing this city is, we don't care what you said, we don't care what you care about. We're going to continue to raise taxes. And the people that get hurt with that are senior citizens on fixed incomes. But not only that, and what I'm not hearing, is all the people out there that can't afford houses, but they rent. And I'm not sure, many understand this, but I'm sure there's plenty that do not understand. The reason their rents are going up is because you are raising taxes. And you are hurting the lower income people of this city. And that just is unacceptable to me. I think we need to do some type of marketing campaign to let people know that that is why their rents have gone up. And one last thing I want to say, I've never been on a city council, I've never been involved with this stuff, but I do understand what revenue neutral is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Next this evening, we have Brown McFadden.
Because I'm not used to talking in front of crowds. Mayor, Council, my name's Brown McFadden. I'm at 411 Northwood out in Smallwoods. And I just wanted to be here to express my concern about the taxes. I obviously voted for you guys to help get the taxes down. And I'm as they pointed out earlier, Stan and Sherry, that I'm fixed income, I'm retired, and that $1,000 I'm having to pay in additional property tax is really hurting me right now. And since my Social Security went up 3%, so trying to balance that out. So I'm having difficulty, making my payments and feeding my family. So I hope that we can work something out and help the people of our city to keep people here, because I have some friends who are already in the process of moving out of town. So I'm praying for that, and hopefully everything will work out. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McFadden. Next this evening, we have Zach Settlewong, speaking on behalf of a group.
Hi, my name is Zach Settlewong, speaking for Citizens for Better Washington. Nobody wants to pay higher taxes. I mean, everybody gets that, but we don't need to cause divisiveness to do it. Us versus them. This seems to be what a politician does, Joe, when they are focused more on creating division than bringing a community together. You can look at me, by the way. With that in mind, I'd like to address a few items you put on the agenda tonight, Joe. Item Q would deny city employees a 2.4% cost of living increase. Item R would cut city employees' health insurance benefits, creating a 40% increase in the amount they pay for premiums. Must be nice being rich to see those just numbers, Joe. So us versus them being the big bad city government, Joe. I don't know, Joe, last time I looked, they are my neighbors. They're my fellow citizens who work hard for limited pay, who provide police, fire, electricity, water, sewer, storm mitigation, parks, and the great downtown that we have. And let's get to item F, declaring June as a nuclear family month. Families back in the Bible were either patriarchal or extended families, not nuclear families, Joe. You're going to vote against your Bible. Versions of the extended family are what most cultures roughly follow. The nuclear family came to prominence in the 1950s and was popular in American culture until the mid-1960s. Yet its popularity didn't last long, maybe 15 years. In 1940s, women were finally able to get divorced easier. This allowed them to escape abusive relationships. That caused a rise of over 1% in the divorce rate. You can't have that, Joe, can you? No, you can't have independent women, so nuclear family was born into propaganda. The divorce rate dropped by 1%, yay. However, in the 1960s, women regained their independence and brought it back to where it should be. Joe will argue the kids are better in school and have better health reports. This doesn't take into account the fact that, when you have a group of rich kids and a group of single moms, it's the fact that they're poor, not that they're in a nuclear family. Today, there are thousands of adoptable children, and you want to look at me while I'm talking to you? Or are you just going to sit there and pretend? Yeah, good. Today, there are thousands of adoptable children in North Carolina. When I adopted my daughter, and half of the families in there were LGBTQ or single individuals. I guarantee you that 1,000% of those kids, Joe, they don't give two shits. All they wanted was people to love them. They didn't care that they were nuclear families. Us versus them. How damn hard is it to have a resolution that just encompasses all families? But let's be real here, Joe. You're just doing what every right-wing extremist tries to do this month. Take a huge crap on Pride Month, aren't you? To diminish all that they have worked for. Just another homophobic proposal. Well, Joe, you better hope that nobody at the sewer department is gay. Oh, and by the way, my mom, when she was 18, was kidnapped and then became a single mom. And you know what she told me when I told her about your proposal? She told me to tell you to go fuck yourself, Joe. Fuck you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Setawong. At this time, that concludes our comments from the public for this evening. There are no public hearings scheduled this evening or scheduled public appearances. At this time, we will move on to correspondence and special reports. At this time, we're going to take a brief 5-minute recess. We're going to call this meeting back to order. All right, at this time, we are at correspondence and special reports. First up will be the purchase orders of greater than 50,000. Mr. City Manager, anything on this regard? Okay. Okay, budget transfers, quarterly reports, same, okay. Does council have any questions on any of these items before we move on? Yes, page 124, 125, and 133. Purchase orders, budget transfers, and quarterly reports.
Can you give us a quick explanation of it?
Budget transfer. Councilman Davis, did you have any other questions? Okay. All right, at this time, there are no reports from boards, commissions, and committees. We'll move on to appointments. First up is the council liaisons. I believe everyone has the list in front of them. I will just read these off for the record. So we have Planning Board, Councilman Tyree. Board of Adjustment, Councilman Peralt. Historic Preservation Commission, Councilman Horton. Brown Library Board of Trustees, Councilman Horton. Washington Housing Authority, Councilman Horton. Recreation Advisory Committee, Councilman Tyree. Human Relations Council, Councilman Tyree. Washington Electric Utilities Advisory Board, Councilman Peralt. Washington Warren Airport Authority, Councilman Peralt. And replacing Councilman Fritz the Kempa will be Councilman Peralt. There's no change for the Highway 17 Association. That will remain Councilman Tyree.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Peralt.
I just want to make it known for everybody watching and everybody here, there was not a decision to exclude a council member from this list. The council member reached out and asked to be excluded from this list.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Davis.
I was taken off by two committees by yourself, Councilman Peralt.
But when asked which one you wanted to be put it back on, you said none.
Well, hold on, I'm going to clarify, because Councilman Davis's name was assigned to Animal Control Appeals Board and Waterfront Docks Advisory Committee, and I asked him if that was something he asked for, and he wanted to be assigned or not, and the answer was no.
Yeah, I wasn't asked to be on these committees. I will go back, if you want to put me back on the Recreation and HR, I'll be happy to go back on those.
At this time, do I have a motion from council to accept these liaison appointments? At this time, we're waiting on tourism. For
So we're not appointing somebody to tourism because the tourism board wants to wait?
that was what was asked, was to wait, and they would like to not appoint a council liaison at this time. If council would like to appoint a liaison, you certainly can, but we were just respecting what the board had asked.
Yeah, that's a council member decision, not a board decision.
The list in front is blank, so if y'all had someone in mind, you can certainly modify that.
So to fill them all, to fill the spots, yeah, so you said the board chair and the director of the board?
The chairwoman of the tourism board and the tourism director communicated that they would like to wait at this time before establishing a new council liaison to replace Councilman Fritz,
Did they say what they were waiting on?
to see if we make an appointment for a fifth council member and what that decision, and would that person be interested? I mean, right now you have 3 people sharing responsibilities across all of these assignments, and the list I was provided was blank, so I didn't think that someone had volunteered to step up to want that position. I'm not trying to force anyone into it, so if somebody wants it, by all means. So if you,
We either appoint or we don't, but the board doesn't tell the council to wait. I mean, that's the council's job, is to appoint. So our own housekeeping things, I believe we need to go ahead and tighten up our housekeeping so we can move forward.
Yeah, that was my only question. How can they tell us that they don't want a liaison when they're, yeah.
so it's a voting member of their board, and right now they need to get through appointments tonight to the new board members, and the list that was provided to council did not include a volunteer from council to want to serve on the tourism board. So if someone doesn't want it versus forcing someone to take the responsibility, the sentiment that was offered was, well, can we wait and see who council fills the vacant council seat to see if that person might want to serve as the liaison to the tourism board? If y'all don't want to wait and y'all want to appoint someone, sure, okay. Councilman Davis? All right, it
I move
sounds
to
like,
appoint Councilman Joe Davis to Tourism Development.
is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, motion carries.
Are
Do
you
you
looking-
want to close out Animal Control's Appeal Board and Waterfront Docks Advisory Committee this evening as well, then? Okay. Animal Control Appeals? Okay.
Madam Mayor, I move to appoint Councilman Davis to Animal Control Appeals and Waterfront Docks Advisory Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Can I receive a motion on the remainders of those from the list that we read off earlier?
Make a motion to approve the list.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries. All right. Next up on our agenda is appointments for various boards, commissions, and committees. Council, do we want to just do these one at a time? I think that's easy. So first, for Planning Board, we do not have any applications. Human Relations Council, we do not have any applications. Next is the Washington Tourism Development Authority. There are 2 seats.
How many applications?
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6.
8 applications? Because I was just trying to figure out how we already had someone in an open seat name filled in if there's 8 applications.
The names here, I think, are the names that were recommended either by the staff liaison to that board, based on, or the board personally reached out on who they feel will be the best fit after reviewing the applications. So it's their recommendation to council.
I move City Council reappoint Susan Strickland to the Washington Tourism Development Authority, term to expire June 30th, 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries.
I move the City Council appoint Betsy Hester to the Washington Tourism Development Authority to fill a vacant position, term to expire June 30th, 2027.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Motion carries. Board of Adjustment. There are 2 applications for 2 vacant seats.
I move that the city council reappoint Steve Fuchs to the Board of Adjustment to fill his expiring term to expire June 30th, 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries.
I also move that the city council reappoint Wally Salim to the Board of Adjustment to fill his expiring term, the term to expire June 30th, 2029.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Yep. Next is the Recreation Advisory Committee. No applications were received. Next is the Board Library of Trustees. I believe we have 1 application.
You say that one.
The Brown Library Trustees.
I just want to make sure I was on the right one. All right, so I move that city council reappoint Ms. Rhonda to the Board of Library Trustees term to expire on June the 30th, 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carries. Next is the Historic Preservation Commission. There are 3 vacant seats.
I move that the city council reappoint Beth Casey to the Historic Preservation Commission terms to expire June the 30th, 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carries.
I move that the city council appoint Ms. Kimberly Golly to the Historic Preservation Commission to fulfill expiring term of John Carborn. Term expires June the 30th, 2029.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor? Motion carries.
I move that the city council appoint Ms. Amanda Blackman to the Historic Preservation Commission to fill a vacant, unexpired term expired June the 30th, 2029.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? All right, all those opposed? All right, motion carries. Animal Control Appeals Board, no applicants were received. Washington Electric Utilities Advisory Board, no applications were received. And the Housing Authority, no applications were received. If you are interested in volunteering your time to any of these boards, I will reiterate the following have vacancies, and we would welcome your applications ahead of our July meeting. The Planning Board, the Human Relations Council, the Recreation Advisory Committee, the Animal Control Appeals Board, the Washington Electric Utilities Advisory Board, and the Housing Authority. All right, next we will move on to old business. First up is the adoption of the resolution to accept grant assistance from the North Carolina Department of Commerce for Streetscape Phase 2 engineering and construction. Mr. Rory.
Mayor, this was first presented to the board back on April the 13th. Actually, the board has already taken action to do a budget ordinance. This is simply a follow-through to where we accept by resolution the grant for the streetscape project up on Market Street down to Main in particular, and also possibly all the way down to Water Street. So this is just a follow-up to that meeting back in April 13th.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Rory at this time?
What was the estimated match for this again?
It started out at about $600 for the city, about $850,000 in the grant. However, the 650,000 is basically a stormwater project, running down the middle of the road in the taps. Some of that is covered by the grant, others has to be covered by the utility funds proper.
Okay, and are we still moving forward with figuring out an updated cost, and if this is a project to move forward with? This is just accepting it to accept the grant, correct?
Yes, this allows me to take and start to have conversations with the rural board about the possibility of rolling back some of those costs.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do we have a motion from council?
Madam Mayor, I move council adopt the resolution to accept funding for Streetscape Phase 2 Engineering and Construction, award number SA 0435.
Could we also add adopt an ordinance to amend the budget and a grant project ordinance for the Streetscape Phase 2 project?
Is that one of the ones in front of council? You can ask lots of questions and discussion if you'd like. Yeah.
How much, is any of this money gonna come, you said it's gonna come from utility fund and stormwater, but nothing from the fund balance?
That's correct, and no general fund dollars associated with it. We got 3 years to complete the project.
3 years.
Hopefully you won't.
Do you want to make a friendly amendment to your motion?
Approve with added amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Councilman Davis? Okay. All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Next this evening on our old business is authorize the mayor to renew the agreement with the Beaufort County Board of Education for the joint use of the playing fields on the Ed Tech Center campus. Mr. Rory?
Y'all, please forgive me, it's all I can do to actually talk, but this is a standard process. This agreement's been in place since 2015, I believe it was, and it's just a joint use agreement between the Board of Education and the City of Washington for the use of P.S. Jones Park. Basically, we share in the use of that project or that park, and we provide maintenance associated with that. So it's a standard practice again.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Rory? All right, do I have a motion from council?
I move that the city council authorize the mayor to renew the agreement with the Beaufort County Board of Education for joint use of the playing fields on the Ed Tech Center campus.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this item?
Are we, is the count, so we're doing all the maintenance for this? 100%?
Yes.
And there's no county help with it as far as the maintenance?
No, it's part of the use agreement.
All right. Hearing no further, oh,
Can we try to get some county help for that if it's?
We can try.
Some of the historical previous councils, even prior to me, like we have asked, and we get the amounts that they give us, and then we try to go back and have other conversations. So it hasn't been just a blind, like, blink and scribble our names by it. We actually go back and try to have that conversation, but it's not always received well at all, so.
all right. Any further discussion from council?
If council would like to do this, because it appears that we all have a lot of questions for the county commissioners, can we try to get a meeting with the county commissioners and kind of discuss a lot of these items, like a joint meeting?
That would be at the discretion of the council.
All right. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. All right, next on old business is update status of the February 9th, 2026 council recommendation on property tax rate reversal. Wait, is that one that got scratched? I'm sorry, no, right? Yeah, no. Tax rate reversal of the 28% property tax increase. As this is an item added from Councilmember Davis, I'll yield the floor to him.
The basis for this request is as follows. At the regular meeting on the council on February 9, 2026, the council adopted by a 3-2 majority vote a formal motion to recommend a property tax rate of 3.775, 37.75 cents, revenue neutral rate from the last budget year to be incorporated into the fiscal year 26-27 budget preparation. Motion was made by Fritz and and then seconded by myself and carried with the third vote from Max. City manager's recommended budget for 26-27 proposes a property tax rate of 46.5 cents per $100 valuation, which is 8.75 cents above the rate formerly recommended by council majority on February 9th, and approximately, that number is wrong, but it's approximately 23%. So kind of what we've got going into this is a 23% tax increase from 12 months ago of what people were paying last June. So I just wanted to get an update on that and why we couldn't get to that number and how we can get to that number by the end of this night, so we can at least get to what we promised, and it's what's possible. I know you're going to say, wait till after July 1, but I mean, tomorrow's not promised. I got people, I'm going to stop right here.
I'll try to go through this. You're absolutely correct that in the February 9th meeting of 2026, with a 3-2 vote, the council directed staff to try to come back with a budget equivalent to what the revenue neutral number would be, or roughly 37.75 cents. Specifically, and I'm reading, this is in your agenda packet. This isn't something I've created. It's in your tonight's agenda packet. Mr. Robertson stated that setting the tax rate is actually part of the budget process, and it is premature to do so at this time. But noted council can suggest a recommended tax rate. Mr. Robertson stated we are planning to go back to the baseline budget from 2 years ago. Mr. Robertson stated we are planning to go back to the baseline budget 2 years ago. Mayor Pro Tem Fritz at the time recommended a property tax rate of 37.75. That is correct. Councilman Peralt basically said that it gives them plenty of time to work on the budget. At the end of the day, that was on February the 9th. On April the 13th, however, you were presented with a budget from your hand-picked interim manager, all right, that kept the tax rate at 48.5 cents. I didn't present that budget to you. Your interim manager presented that budget with the tax rate being the same. But that tax rate, even with that budget, and I will acquiesce and read into the record the budget message from the April 13th meeting. The fiscal year 2027 budget totals $145,361,398, a decrease of $874,000, give or take a few pennies, from the current budget, and recommends the city tax rate to be 48.5 per 100. That is static. It's exactly what was in there. No reduction, no rate reduction, nothing of that sort. This tax rate should retain our status as one of the lowest tax rates in eastern North Carolina and leave us below our peer group average statewide. We were able to propose a budget that reflects a static property tax while maintaining within the current water, sewer, stormwater rate structure that will allow for continual maintenance improvements. However, therefore, we are recommending an average of 1.07 cent per kilowatt hour increase in our electric rates. Finally, the budget suggests a reduction in personnel of 7 positions while freezing 8 positions. The expansion budget recommends an increase for our 401k contribution for all employees in the amount of 4 paramedics and 1 fire marshal. The expansion requests are not included in this budget. So the expansion request in that budget that you were presented on April 13th had upwards of about almost $480,000, if I remember correctly, of new positions. New positions. That's the budget message that you were presented on April 13th. Following through April 22nd, the City Council had a work session over at the Civic Center. In that particular meeting, you were asked specifically what were your specific priorities. To date, I haven't heard but from one council member, all right, in terms of what those specific priorities were. On April 27th, we had an additional budget workshop right here in this room. We had another one on April 28th right here in this room. On April 29th, I received a two-page email from Councilman Fritz at the time, suggesting and was very, very negative in terms of our employees, our staff, our department heads, our directors, our chiefs, in regards that they cannot take simple direction and operate with a 10% rate reduction in their taxes, and they can't identify one single employee to cut. That was followed by April 30th with a resignation from Councilman Fritz. On May 11th, I presented to you the manager's proposed budget, and we held a public hearing regarding that budget. That is statutory and driven by those statutes, and we are required to do it. It's important for us to understand what that state law requires. State law specifically says that your budget officer is the city manager, period. Not council member, all right, the city manager, period. It also requires that you are presented with a balanced budget to meet the service level demands of our citizens. At some point along the way, whether it was last year, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, doesn't matter, there's the past, someone made a decision to provide a level of service. Once again, period. All right? So that level of service has been determined in the past, in the future. Here we are. What we're trying to do is produce a budget that maintains and meets those service demands of our citizens. A lot of topics have come up related to that, whether it is EMS, whether it is recreation, whether it's this or that, or at the end of the day, one of the things that was in that manager's proposed budget was a balanced budget with a 2-cent rate reduction. I've subsequently said to each and every one of you that I could actually make a legitimate argument of maintaining the tax rate at 48.5 instead of lowering it to 46.5. The reason for that is because this budget, this manager's proposed budget on May 11th, does nothing to address long-term needs for our facilities, long-term needs for our capital projects, nothing to address the transfer coming from the electrical fund over into the general fund to keep the tax rate low, does nothing about that. And so anything after that is really just, I don't know what to call it, okay? I don't know what to call it. But I do want to focus on some of those ethical issues that we face in terms of those statutory requirements. From your charter, the city manager is the administrative head of the city government, and they will see that within the city, the laws of the state and the ordinances, resolutions, and regulations of the council are faithfully executed. Everybody takes an oath of office to follow those laws, follows those regulations. They are also responsible for the appointment and removal of all department heads, superintendents, and other employees with the city. State statute 168-148, the powers and duties of the manager, shall appoint and suspend or remove all city officers and employees not elected by the people and whose appointment or removal is not otherwise provided for law. Direct and supervise the administration of all the departments, offices, and agencies of the city, subject to the general direction and control of the council, except as otherwise provided by law. And he shall prepare and submit the annual budget and capital program to the council. Those are statutory-driven issues. I say that because it is important to recognize that it is my opinion, all right? It is the opinion, I believe, of staff in general, that we have presented to you a fiscally responsible budget that relates to meeting the service demands of our citizens. Yes, it's not revenue neutral. Yes, it's not a rollback of 10 or 11 cents on the tax rate. That would be fiscally irresponsible. And I stand on that. And that both of these statements, in terms of the relationship to the budget, I've heard that essentially the 2-cent reduction is a slap in the face. That's been stated, okay? And also that Rory and Peralt's rubber stamp budget, all right? So I appreciate that, I really do. I'm a big boy, I can handle it. But at the end of the day, I have presented you with a fiscally responsible budget, and both of these statements, in my opinion, are an issue of code of ethics that is adopted by this board in 2010, that you're not supposed to do that kind of stuff. In fact, ICMA Code of Ethics calls for the same thing. So there's your update. Yes, you did recognize and say a 10-cent rollback. Yes, that was approved on a 3-2 vote. We've had conversation after conversation after conversation, and as the manager, the budget officer, I have presented you with a fiscally responsible budget.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Tyree?
Mr. Rory, just to kind of start out where you started out, I'm gonna try to keep up with it, but you said that the presented budget, the first budget that was presented to council, right around the time that you sat down, was suggesting the tax rate does not change.
That's correct.
Did you have any input on that budget?
None.
You also said that you presented a fiscally responsible budget, and I heard you use terms like service level demands of the citizens, not of council, but as of the community. When you say fiscally responsible, though, could you help us, like, what does that mean?
It means looking at your staffing scenarios, looking at your times, your office, what you're trying to provide, and making decisions based around those parameters of what that budget should be, not just arbitrarily and capriciously doing something to cut something at a tax rate just so that you can maintain a promise.
So the idea of taking into account what the community uses right now and how much that costs, along with what future costs may be assessed with that, to ensure that we're ahead of it and we're not going under it, correct? And there has been some increases this budget cycle that we weren't paying before, right? When it comes to like insurances and things of that nature, like there's been some increase that we have to pay as a city, correct?
There always are increases that we have to pay in the city. For example, one of the things in this budget is 2.4% COLA. That's basically us trying to maintain our competitiveness in terms of our employees and in the market rate of our employees. That is an annual increase that we look at. We've also reduced and eliminated longevity. We've reduced merit significantly, so we will be revising the entire merit program. We're also looking at some increases on our health insurance. Forgive me, I cannot remember that percentage increase. I'm sure Nicole can on the top of her head. But those are things that we just commonly deal with year after year. Fuel cost, everybody knows about fuel cost. On your agenda tonight is an increase in fuel sales, which means an increase in fuel cost. And so our delta on that in terms of the profit margins at the airport is going to be impacted by that as well. So yes, there are always increases that we have to pass along and we have to absorb.
So I heard you speak about some of the things that affect our workforce directly. What is the rollout idea behind that? I heard you speak about longevity pay. You brought that up right now. Longevity pay, because we've had some very hard-working individuals for this city of Washington for quite some time, and we get to see them yearly as they come up and accept. And you know, we even go as far as 30 years right now, right? So, could you provide the community with the logic behind this idea of longevity pay restructuring and what you just spoke?
When you look at the 261 positions located within the city's government in terms of our staff, whether it's enterprise funds or general funds, you'll find that over time, it is an accurate statement that the cost of our salaries have went up, and up, all right? And so some of those pieces associated with that is the constant longevity pay. It is my position that longevity pay is just a giveaway, all right? Merit in itself has went up, and up. Our numbers suggest that out of 240 employees last year, roughly 20 of them did not get a merit, which means that roughly 220 got a merit increase as well. So structuring that to where it's really a pay-for-performance basis, I think is critical for the local governments. So yes, we want to enhance our pay and classification system. We want to make sure we have adequate and appropriate market rates, but you can't do that by just taking and just doing the same thing that you've always done. That's the merit and that's the thought behind it.
Councilman Davis?
I know Bobby y'all like to kind of throw Bobby under the bus, but my
I'm
understanding.
not throwing Bobby under the bus.
Well, my
okay?
understanding from him is he was going to allow us to direct the budget process to get the taxes down where we were elected to get the budget down, which you did not do, and we wasted, I don't know, 3 days just hearing you lecture us and your staff lecture us on why it can't be done, and then here we are, 23% from June of last year. We might as well kept Jonathan Russell. Can we get Jonathan Russell back? He promised me 10%, and then we've only got 4% right now.
If he's available, go for it.
I would love to.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Peralt?
I just want to clarify that statement is a lie. Bobby was never gonna let us direct the budget process. He
That's
never
what he
delivered.
told me.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. He likes to tell you what you need to hear. But we were given a budget with no tax cut. It was the exact same thing. Mr. Rory just stated it was an increase in spending, something that some of us ran against. We have a budget that is fiscally responsible, balanced, with a tax decrease on it, hopefully to be approved tonight. And I appreciate the update on where we're at with this. And the update was given to us at the meeting where we presented the budget with none of the direction followed. And that's, again, burn the bridge and move past it. So I feel like we've gotten our update. I'd like to move forward at this time.
Thank you, Councilman Peralt.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis.
I know he said it'd be fiscally irresponsible to drop the budget back to the levels of June 2025. So basically, the last city government was running a fiscally irresponsible budget. So we have to pay 23% more than what we were paying, people were paying as of June of 2025. So I guess the past government was very fiscally irresponsible for what they were doing, since we can't get it back to their levels. I understand cost increases, but we also have a lot more tax revenue, 53% more tax revenue, and as I've said a million times, 70% payroll increase over 7 years.
Hey, Joe, your proposed budget items tonight that we removed from the agenda, I have a question about. With your proposed tax rate, would we have been able to pay the debt amounts that the city has yearly? Would we be able to cover purchase power for our electric department? Would we be able to keep the same bond rating for the city in order to borrow, in order to distribute sales taxes the same way? Would we be able to run the city, or would we be running into being unincorporated? Because in my opinion, it was fiscally irresponsible. And also, as elected officials, speaking to all of us.
Have you ever run a
Excuse me,
business?
excuse me, excuse me.
Have you run
Councilman
a
Peralt
business?
has the floor at the
Excuse me.
moment.
Thank you,
That's made, I don't know, $50,000.
thank you. As elected officials, all of us need to stop berating our staff members. We don't get to sit up here and speak down to people. They're doing work on behalf of our direction, and we should be thankful that they're showing up every day, given the political climate that we have created here.
All right, I feel like we have deviated a little bit
Madam Mayor.
from our update on the status of the February 9th council recommendation. Is there any further discussion specific to the property tax reversal that was proposed on February 9th? I feel like Mr. Roy gave us a really good explanation. All right, at this time, we're going to move on to new business. The first item on new business this evening is the adoption of the budget ordinance amendment for purchase power. Mr. Rory.
Let me find that, Mayor.
Okay.
Your cover memo in your agenda is actually inaccurate. It's a 1 million instead of $1.5 million. At the end of the day, what's happening is that the cost of that purchase power went up. We don't produce it, we purchase it. We purchase it wholesale, we sell it retail so that we can fund the operations, we can fund the trucks, the lines, the things that go with it. And so basically, this is just an amendment to get us through the end of the year so that when we have to pay the purchase power cost, the budget has been amended to do that. That's all it is. I would say, and I think Tammy would echo, that it's probably a little elevated. And so any of it that we don't spend will just simply fall back into any kind of level of fund balance. So it's just routine nature again, even though the price is high. It's a huge price, but the cost to purchase that power is high too.
Thank you, Mr. Rory. Is there any questions from council? All right, do I have a motion?
I move that the city council transfer 1.5 million from fund balance to
1 million.
1 million
Sorry.
from fund balance to the North Carolina Eastern Municipal Agency.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Madam Mayor, I have a few questions for the city manager.
Councilman Peralt?
Is a $1 million transfer a normal amount to have to make up at the end of the year?
No, I think that it was under budgeted.
You think it was underfunded in this current budget?
Yes, I do. I think it was under budgeted
Okay.
because you don't know exactly everything that's going to go on in terms of the purchase power associated with it. but I do think it was under budget to begin with.
Is the total 1 million able to be pulled from the electric enterprise fund balance?
Yes, none of it is a general fund subsidy.
Okay. And then my final question is more an ask. We've spoken about this during our electric advisory board meetings, and this is one of those, as you like to say, torpedoes that we turn into that face the problem. I still believe that the Washington Electric utility should be transferred to a commission style. That way, it cannot be controlled politically to keep rates lower. That may hurt the asset long-term and cause, budgeting shortfalls or what it may be. And I'd like us as a council to still try to work towards that goal in the future.
Thank you, Councilman Peralt. Any other questions or discussion from council? All right, all those in favor? All right, motion carries. Next, we will move on, adopt the budget ordinance amendment, grant project ordinance, and resolution for the water treatment plant rehabilitation project.
Madam Mayor, I move.
Wait, did I skip one? Sorry. Budget ordinance amendment for Camp Leach Road project.
Okay. Madam Mayor, I move the city council adopt the budget ordinance amendment for work to be completed on Camp Leach Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion from council?
Just one brief point here. The background and findings, it shows that this is a reimbursable project with North Carolina Department of Transportation in the amount of $64,894. That's
Correct.
okay.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Davis?
said DOT is going to pay for it? Is that
Yeah, they'll reimburse it. Any other discussion, questions from council? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor? All right, motion carries. Next is the budget ordinance amendment for the grant project ordinance and resolution for the water treatment plant rehabilitation project.
Mayor, can I invite Hope, please? I'm afraid I might not do this justice.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. This is just kind of a follow-up and a cleanup for the last action that we did, I think, last month to accept the additional funding. So they have agreed to give us the extra money to complete the project, which would bring the loan amount to $9,968,910. They have to have a formal acceptance from the board. And this is also going to be setting up the entire budget ordinance that we did not set up originally. We were waiting on the LGC approval and the approval of the whole loan amount before the complete budget ordinance was set up. Any other questions you have?
Does council have any questions for Ms. Woolard?
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Peralt?
could you just explain one more time? I know I've asked you like 5 times, but the payment amount on the 9.9 million would be able to come out of the county's share of that facility as well as revenue collected on base rate bills for water. Is that correct? Like, it wouldn't actually require additional allocation towards the debt note?
Well, I guess we would have to, the debt would be factored into our expenses as part of our budget process, which
Sure.
that will not happen until the project is complete. But yes, the county does pay a portion of any improvements and/or operations at our water treatment plant, and that kind of varies depending on whether it is improvement or operations. So this project will include both improvement and operations. So we will figure out that portion of it, but with the revenue anticipated from them, as well as the revenue that we are losing currently with our water meters not working properly, when we get that AMI project completely, all the meters completely installed from that project, we're looking at about a 20% water loss that we're not capturing from our customers out in the system. So with that revenue and the revenue from the county, we are projecting that this is not going to cost any more money.
So it would essentially break even at the end of the project?
I don't like to say that, but we do project enough income to come in to kind of cover the cost of the debt service.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Councilman Terry?
How are contractors selected to do work at this level?
So for this project, we put an RFP out to solicit contractors, and we do a bid opening. This particular project, we had to do 2 bid openings. The first bid opening, we did not get enough bids to be able to open the bids, so we had to to resolicit and then have a second bid opening, at which time I think we received 2 bids. And at that time, we were able to open the sealed bids. We were required to have 3 at the first bid opening to be able to open the bids.
Is there any like specific specialties or anything that has to be approved, like contractor-wise? Like, does the contractor have to be approved a certain way through the state, or is it like a specialty thing that you look for of this level of funding to do this project?
Yes, the engineering firm reviews the submittal from the contractor to make sure that they are, they provide all of the paperwork that's required to meet the specs and the requirements that are put upon. The loan has requirements within itself. DWI also reviews all of the contractor's credentials to determine whether they are a acceptable contractor. So yes, there's hoops and hurdles, and DWI essentially has to give us a final approval to say that yes, this contractor can work for us.
So that's not done by council?
No. Well, you decide that we can accept, or you do have an approval level as well to determine that we can go forward with the project.
But council doesn't go into the weeds of selecting who does the work?
Not normally.
Gotcha.
Any other questions from council?
Madam Mayor, I have one more.
Councilman Peralt?
Is the current county use of the treatment plant equal to what it was when the original agreement was signed?
I'm not sure. I've not been here that long,
Okay.
as far as going back to that point. The county's improvement portion, there's different language in the contract. They bought into about 30% of our plant. So the improvement portion is based on that pro rata share. But now operation expenses, the county pays monthly based on the amount of expenses we have for operation. So they pay by the amount of water they use that month. So generally speaking, they use between 50 and 60% of the water we produce at the plant.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Davis?
Mr. Roy, do you agree with the statement that it's going to bring enough revenue or savings to pay for this loan, for this $9.8 million loan? You're using your...
In general terms, yes.
I think we have
But what
a
happens is-
very solid
Yeah.
chance.
Thank you, Ms. Willard. Councilman Peralt? Oh. All right, do we have a motion from council?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Second, all right. Any further discussion from council? All right, hearing none, all of those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries. Next on our agenda is to adopt the budget ordinance amendment for increasing revenues and expenses for aviation fuel sales and purchases. Mr. Rory?
Reading from your cover memo, with an increase in fuel sales up 327,900 from this time last year. With an increase in fuel sales, okay, the surge in fuel prices, the current budget will not support the amount of jet fuel sales at the airport through the fiscal year end, therefore requiring an additional appropriation. At the end of the day, the municipal airport is operated off of tie-down fees, hangar fees, and fuel sales. So this is really a pass-through in terms of the increase in the fuel cost as well as the increase of fuel sales, so therefore it's just a balancing act to make sure they got it to pay.
Is there any questions for Mr. Rory from council? All right, is there a motion?
No question.
Okay, Councilman Terry.
What is the alternative?
Not selling the fuel?
Is there any long-term, because of how the airport falls under the city, with
Yes.
less revenue in that space, if we didn't accept this, then eventually the city would have to pick up even more. Is that how that wheel kind of rolls, or what?
There's some limits to that, Councilman Tyree, in terms of the grant dollars that have been spent and how we do that and how long we have to operate. So that's a moving target for us. But my goal, if I had a goal at all for the municipal airport, would be for it at least to break even and then take and receive less than 10% of its annual expenditures in terms of a subsidy. I do think that there's an economic impact for the use of the airport. I do think that we get some tax revenue from the airport that balances that out. It just doesn't show up on the books. But right now, I think the immediate goal should be to break even and then hopefully make a little bit more so that it can feed into the system.
And is this an avenue to approach what you're speaking of?
Yes,
Gotcha.
as well as some other economic initiatives that are going on out there.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis?
I've seen some talks about a 25,000 performance bonus for the airport.
Point of order.
For the airport
Councilman
manager.
Peralt?
Do you have any information?
Point of order.
Councilman Peralt has the floor.
That item does not relate to the current agenda item, and it's not within 5 years of the current council.
Point well taken. Do you have a question related to the agenda item for the transfer of funds for the budget ordinance amendment for the fuel? Okay. Do I have a motion from council?
I move that the city council adopt a budget ordinance amendment for increasing revenues and expenditures for aviation fuel sales purchase for the airport budget at the amount of $327,900.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, motion carries. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the Workers' Compensation Administrator Service Agreement with Acrisure Claim Services LLC. Mr. Rory?
They manage all of our workers' comp claims in mitigation issues related to workman's comp, and it's just a 3-year agreement.
Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I move the city council authorize the city manager to sign a workers' compensation administrative services agreement with Acrisure Claim Services LLC.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion from council? Councilman Davis?
Do you have a cost for this, and has it gone out?
Nicole?
Hi. The cost is based on how many employees get hurt and how many employees have to go to the doctor or have care taken. So the cost is a little bit fluid, but the cost bases are in the proposal.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Williams? Nope. Okay, no other questions. All right. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hand. I thought Councilman Tyree made a motion. Oh. You did, yeah. And we have a second. Yeah. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the resolution declaring June 2026 as Nuclear Family Month. Given that this item was added by Councilmember Davis, I will yield the floor to him. Councilmember Davis, did you have anything you'd like to speak on for your agenda item?
So yeah, this is a recognition resolution, no funding, no regulation, no legal effect. There's decades of social science from the Census, Brookings Institute of Family Studies, NBER, just consistently document that children in two-parent households have better outcomes in education, economic mobility, and reduced involvement with the criminal justice system. This recognizes the work of mothers and fathers. Raising the next generation is the kind of civic affirmation that cities have also always done, states have done as well. It's not a statement about any other family form. It's a statement of support for the family form that derives from the outcomes that research consistently documents. And I just request that a roll call vote to ensure everyone's on the record for or against affirming the work of moms and dads in this town.
Is there a motion from council on this item?
I move that to adopt the resolution declaring June 2026 as Nuclear Family Month in the city of Washington with a roll call vote.
We don't do, it's not a roll call vote, so is there a second? All right, hearing none, the motion dies. The next item on our agenda is authorize the Youth League sponsorship signage at the Susie Gray McConnell Sports Complex. As this item was added from Councilmember Davis, I will yield the floor to him to offer background information.
Do you
I think it was, yeah. G was removed.
It was removed.
Yep. Clerk confirms item G was removed.
Let me get to it. Susie Gray Complex, and so we just want to allow them to have signs and sell sponsorships. I would like this to really work for all the leagues, basketball, football, soccer, every league, just so it could be I've heard some say it could be as high as $20,000 they could raise in the community for businesses. So I think this would just be a great opportunity to raise money for these leagues. Obviously, we lost about $124,000 by the removal of the last item for these leagues, by restructuring the rec department, but at least this will hopefully give them a little bit of money to help run their leagues more efficiently and professionally, and have more programs and more opportunities for kids in our rec department. And hopefully council will reconsider to investing more money into these parent-run organizations as opposed to the government, which isn't running any league, but the parents are doing all the work, and the government's making all the money. So just my opinion on that last piece.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Tyree.
Hold on.
What are we doing?
The,
Are we in discussion or,
if you have any,
is there a motion on the table?
there's no motion on the table. No.
So, for discussion in that space, I've heard this quite often, about signage allowed or what's allowed on the field and what's not. If we could get clarity on what's allowed, where that comes from, because again, it's one thing for us to feel like we know, but if we could get a clear understanding of where the yes or no comes from and provide it to the community as well.
Mr. Holscher or Mr. Rory.
I don't know, whoever's at the table.
I'll give it a shot, but then I'll let the attorney kind of do, to be perfectly honest and clear, I have an email from Mr. McConnell that says, yes, you can commercialize and put signs up there if you're willing to give him his $1 million back, period. Those are his words, his quote. Now, what's the legal opinion?
So, what I'm hearing you say is, and I'm just doing this because your mic was kind of low, is that you reached out, or the family that provided the park to the city has reached out to you and stated, we can do that. We can allow signage, and we can allow things of that nature. However, the backside to that is we have to give them the value of the park back. Like $1 million back is what I'm hearing.
Christy, will you help me, please? Come up here. Christy actually had the contact.
Okay.
It's actually $1.25 million, and
It's what? I'm sorry.
$1,250,000.
1.25 million to give back? Okay.
And the agreement does not have a prohibition in it that says you can't put signs up. If you talk to Mr. McConnell, he will tell you that it was his understanding that that was part of his agreement, because the Susie Gray McConnell complex was a memorial to his widow. So he didn't want to disturb that memorial, and in his mind, it disturbs that memorial. And so legally, the agreement does not say you can't charge and put up signs. Historically, and I've got a memo that I can resend to council that I sent within the last month or so. We got something from Duke, some windshields or whatever they're called, about a few years ago, and we were basically told we really shouldn't put those up, and they actually went to Chocowinity. So I think you could do it. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to honor his understanding of your agreement.
Christy, did you have anything?
Franz basically covered it unless you guys have specific questions for me. That's been, yes, that's been my understanding ever since I've started with the city when I was part-time back in 2000. We opened the complex the year that I started. My understanding has been that we could not commercialize the complex at all. Over the years, we have emailed back and forth about a couple different things and opportunities. Most recently, we were asked by a league about something specific, about how much money they thought that they would potentially raise. I sent another request in to him, and his reply back was basically, if you so choose, and you can, you will have to repay me the amount of money. Unfortunately, I think as far as where we are and the length of time that the complex has been here, I understand where the request comes from because we have a lot of other sports complexes that do similar concepts, but that money would not come back into the city. That would be a league fundraiser. And as far as Mr. McConnell goes, I want to respect his wishes as best I can. However, trying to support the leagues as much as we possibly can as well.
Thank you. Councilman Davis?
I think that we move forward with doing what's in the best interest of these kids and also what aligns with the legal documents that have been signed for the facility, and also extending this into the other sports as well, football, basketball, where they can do signage in the 7th Street Rec and where the football plays and stuff like that, so they can also raise some more money for their leagues and really improve the programs. I think our first interest should always be what's in the kids' best interest, not, I think it's been a great memorial for many years, but at the end of the day, I think we need to do what's right by the kids. And we can add a lot of value to these leagues.
But isn't this a contract? I'm saying, so you're saying that if we was to do what Councilman Joe is stating, that we have to pay back?
That is what his email said to us, yes.
Okay.
I think he wants us to pay back, but there's no legal ramification that we have in a contract that says we have to pay him back $1 million and a quarter. Now, if we want to pay him back $1 million and a quarter, we want to be nice, and we can do that. We've got lots of $1 million things going on in the city, but that's up to y'all. But I would say let's just help these kids in whatever way we can. And if he's upset, I'm sorry, Mr. McConnell, but I'd rather do what's in the kids' best interest than what you want, and I appreciate everything you've done for this city. But I think it's now time to help these kids' programs.
Thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Peralta?
I just want to clarify something from earlier. The council does not support the rec leagues because we're not, adopting a resolution to give them a bunch of money and fire a bunch of employees. The league presidents came up and said, don't do that. We don't support that resolution, actually. And most people pay the bills that they're owed to pay. If we have $1 million bill because we adopt this, we should be expected to pay it. So we can't just publicly say we're not going to pay something that we're required to.
Is there a motion from council on this item?
Yeah, I moved to authorize I've got 4, but I'm going to say 6 parent-led youth athletic leagues to raise local business sponsorships through banner signage at Susie Gray, McConnell Complex, and across all our other facilities, subject to standard signage size and content guidelines administered by the city manager.
Is there a second from council? All right, hearing.
I'd like to have more conversation with the league's presidents and everybody sit down now that we have the facts in front of us and really see if we can sort through this. I want to give respect to both parties, to all parties involved, especially when we hear about a memorial. And I understand the contract law, believe it or not, but I do want to have a conversation with us sitting down because there's been a lot talked about, a lot heard, and a lot said about different things and how we function as such. I think, if possible, I think we should sit down and have that conversation and see where it leads to from there, together, not separate council members. I think if we can come together and have a discussion around that to move this ball forward finally.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis?
I've spoken to, I'm not going to name drop because obviously if you align with me, you're in trouble, but I've spoken to several league presidents, and everyone was very excited about this opportunity, and they were very excited about getting more money invested into their programs and just really try to grow them and have more programs and so forth like that. But so, and there isn't that $1 million, we don't have to pay it back. I mean, you can, he maybe wants to sue, I mean, we can get sued for anything, but it doesn't there's no legal document saying we have to pay him back $1.25 million. I think the document is written as it's written, and we should allow these leagues to move forward with raising money and helping their leagues and helping these kids. End of the day, I think that trumps everything.
Councilman Horton.
I think the key word that you just said was you spoke to all the leagues president. Councilman Tyree was asking if we all could sit down and speak with them, due to the fact that you always put out miscommunication, basically. You always misleading the public, so I feel like we all need to have a conversation on this.
Just for the record, we had a motion on the floor. There was
Madam
no
Mayor.
second, so the motion dies.
Madam Mayor.
At this time, we are going to move on to item T, the direct of the Library Consolidation Partnership Plan and Fee Schedule. Mr. Rory, could we ask that, the board would like to ask that a meeting be set with the Parks and Rec office to discuss the signage.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Davis.
Councilman Horton just broke one of the 10 Commandments, bearing false
Point of
witness.
order.
And he broke it
Yeah.
when he said
Point of
I was
order.
making
Councilman
$5,000.
Tyree.
As a pastor, that's a serious issue.
Councilman Tyree
Quote,
has the
unquote.
floor.
If we can get back to the city's business, Mr. Rory, just to kind of if possible, if we could get this meeting within the next week or two and go ahead and sit down, so we can get that locked in and go ahead and move this ball forward. I think there's been a lot of conversation back and forth for quite a few years. I've heard, our director speak about, since she's been here, this has been a conversation. I think it's definitely time to sit down with the people who are out there, boots on the ground as well too, and just have this conversation as a whole, but not push it off to next month. I would like to see it in the next few weeks if possible.
Christie, when is your next recreation advisory meeting? Like, possibility.
Ta-da.
You said don't push it off, right?
What time for the public tonight? The third Monday at 5:30, location? Right here. So the third Monday at 5:30, which is the next Monday, we can have that conversation here. I guess, yeah. I guess.
I'll be here.
Yeah. Is that going to mess up from like a council being able to contribute to the conversation from a special meetings law? Is that going to?
You'll need to notice it, Mayor.
Okay. What's that?
Well, so would you notice that meeting just so we could come along and have that conversation? Madam Mayor?
Yes, yeah. We can do that. Okay, 5:30 next week on Monday, right here. Sounds good. All right.
Hey, I got something to say.
Councilman Horton.
Since he called my name out, I want to address what he just said. I want you to understand that when I sit in this seat, yes, I'm a pastor every day, but when I sit in this seat, I'm a city councilman. So when I sit here, you address me as Councilman Horton, first thing. Second thing is that when you go on Facebook, yes, you do put out false information. So before you go on Facebook, you need to get all your stuff in order, in line, then go out there and spread the good news that you're supposed to be spreading. So I know the 10 Commandments. I think you need to go read your Bible. Thank you.
Go ahead. Y'all can clap.
They don't have to clap because I know who I am. And when you know who you are, I don't need an entourage to do what I do. I do what I do from my heart. You do what you do out of spite.
And
That's
you-
the difference between me and the difference between you.
And you lied
So I
up here
need you to-
saying I was making
sir,
$5,000.
Sir,
Councilman
That's a
Horton
lie.
Sir.
has
That's
the
bearing
floor.
false
Sir.
witness. Can you provide
Councilman
some evidence for
Davis.
that? That's bearing false witness.
I think you need to back.
Councilman
I think you need to
Davis.
back a little bit.
At this time, we are going to move on to item T, the Library Consolidation Partnership Plan and Fee Schedule. As this is an item from Councilmember Davis. Okay.
I would like to, I guess, follow up on having that council, county, city meeting and look at trying to have some type of consolidation effort with the libraries to, because it looks like we've got about 864,000 or something into the library, which is great. I grew up in the library. I love the library, but I think we should work together with the county, and so that we can try to save our taxpayers, try to save at least a few cents on our ad valorem rate.
Is there a motion from council on this item?
I'd like the manager to explain why we can't do this necessarily, because it's a similar issue to what we just discussed.
Mr. Rory?
As I understand it, it's all of these things that come associated with a naming right. So when people give significant contributions and they name something after someone, there's usually some strings attached. And so that's all I can really say about it. However, I think that I would, libraries typically are county functions. However, the city of Washington has made a decision to stand up a library. In my other cities, I had city libraries to the tune of $1 million, and they are popular. There's a lot of foot traffic. There are a lot of people that use them. So if the county would like to give us a little bit of money to operate the library, by all means, ask them. The county has not been very receptive to providing city funding for a city department for something that the city chose to do.
Is there some type of expiration? I understand at the pool there's a Part 5 or Part 6 expiration that ends on July 1 of 2026. Is there any type of expiration with the Brown Library on that, to that matter, or is that not the case?
I can offer to send council one of my memos. I've been referred to some as a historian. There's the Brown Library, just going on faint recollection, was created by a trust, and that trust is actually recorded in the courthouse, and it would to change most of the way it's currently operated would require a reformation of that trust, and probably a judge would have to agree to that. You'd have to do a lot of work to get to that point. And I don't want to discourage the thought of consolidation. We have done that. We have tried to do that at least twice since I've been here in '97, and it didn't get very far. But there were previous councils that met with previous commissioners, and it just never really got there. And there's a lot of stuff with the BHM library that I'm not really privy to about how their finances work and how it's very difficult to unwind their structure, which I don't really have a whole lot of information on that, but it's my understanding it's difficult to unwind the BHM structure as well.
Councilman Tyree.
I would also like to point out that, well, first of all, you had a county official here that came up here to speak his personal opinion on things. You should ask him then. But from my position here sitting on this council, the county is not the city's bank. So we make requests the same way anyone else would of the county, and they either deny or they accept the request. So we have had certain positions where one or two of the county and county officials and the manager wanted to sit down and talk and speak about certain things. Most recently was the senior center conversation. But again, we don't force the county to do anything the same way the county doesn't force the city to do anything. We can put in a request and have a conversation with the county, and they make the decision if they're going to do or not do. If they want to join with the city, then they will. But just because we stand up and say, hey, county, you need to join with us because we're here, they still have the option to deny that. So putting something forward saying we should go work with the county, if the county doesn't want to work with us, that's a separate piece of government. They don't have to work with the city. Now, they do provide us with some financial relief in some spaces. Would we want more? Of course we've asked about that. But again, we can't force the county to work with us. We can't force them to give us money to cover things. We can request like everyone else does.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Peralt.
just to add to it, more importantly, in my opinion, is that, every month the library sends out a newsletter of everything that's going on there. Hundreds of families use it every month for the events that they put on for the kids in this area, for checking out books, for people trying to beat records of books read, people trying to use Wi-Fi for getting jobs, getting work done, schoolwork, whatever it may be, and they choose Washington, no matter where they live in the county, to come to because they prefer this one as opposed to a BHM library. Ones that I've seen people not able to get access to in the middle of the day, whatever that is a county issue. But again, it's a service that we provide that our taxpayers appreciate. We shouldn't force a consolidation, and also with a name attached to it and a trust, I'm sure there would be some type of financial repercussion that we would be faced with if we tried to close it that we would be responsible for.
Thank you,
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Peralt. Councilman Davis.
Franz, what were those hiccups that you had in the, why, did things just fizzle out and you never really got anywhere, they just kind of fizzled out, but do you remember like the exact hiccups that kind of stopped the talks that y'all were having in the past?
I certainly don't want to point any fingers at anybody. I think that's counterproductive. I'm just telling you that we got together and tried to talk about it, and I'm having a difficult time remembering why we had an impasse, but part of it was the BHM has a certain structure to it that I don't think can consolidate with your Brown Library, and your Brown Library has some strings attached to it as a result of that trust. And if you would give me at least, not this week, but maybe next week, I'll be happy to send you, because I was supposed to send it to the library, our librarian, and I haven't gotten around to it yet. If you give me maybe till next week, I'll send you more information on all of that, and I'll also look through and verify and confirm the efforts that were made in the past. If you could let me gather that for you rather than me speculate, I'd appreciate that.
All right, Council, are we good to move on to the next item? All right, next is the final item for new business, adoption of the budget ordinance for fiscal year '27, set the ad valorem tax rate and user fee schedule. Mr. Rory, I turn it over to you.
Once again, I'll try my best, Mayor. In your agenda packet is the budget ordinance for adoption. Once again, I will repeat my previous comments in regards to the budget process. The budget officer, the general statutes, what has been presented to you is a balanced budget that I believe is fiscally responsible. And just as a high level, it includes a general fund to the total amount of $24,870,440, an electric fund of $39,350,978, water fund of $5,583,332, a sewer fund of $4,978,756, stormwater fund of $2,274,372, an airport fund of $1,197,843, solid waste fund of $2,181,789, cemetery fund of $396,511, special revenue fund $36,580, and an internal service fund of $204,254. And a capital project fund is basically major construction, large-scale projects of $61,380,438. The total budget all in for across all funds is $142,455,291. The budget is balanced and required by the general statutes. And moving forward, there's a few moving pieces that I think we can look at downstream, but at this point, that is the manager's recommended budget, and it is in balance.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Rory?
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis?
So basically, what we've done tonight is we've removed 70% of property tax potential from the agenda without it being discussed, and we're going to three out of four of us are all going to vote to adopt a budget that was 23% higher than this time in just basically 12 months ago. And that's what's happening. We're doing basically a 23% tax increase. I think we wasted all our time running on lowering taxes. We're a fake tax cut team. I guess you just kind of got on that to try to get elected. But
Point of order.
Councilman Tyree?
I think, Madam Mayor, to Councilman Davis's point, I would like to ask Mr. Rory, what's the alternative here? If we don't accept this budget, and I know I've sat through all of the meetings, I'm not sure if you got this far down into it, but with the proposed budget that Councilman Davis has done his work on, how many positions are we losing?
For every 1 cent, it's roughly 160,000. It's actually a little lower than that based on your collection rate.
Right.
And so if you think of it from that perspective, every 1 cent rate reduction right now would be equivalent to about 2 employees that are making an average annual salary of $50,000.
Okay, so with that, for every cent, we lose 2 employees, roughly?
Yes.
So if we go down 10 cents, we losing.
There you go.
All right.
It's not absolute math, but it's 20 employees.
Yeah. So 20 employee reduction, and I'm thinking that would probably be across the board, not just one specific department, or have you looked at, like, one department would be gone, or would it be across the board?
I've looked at several. For the record, this budget does propose the closure or the outsourcing of the license plate agency. And so we're already in contact with someone who wants to stand up and operate the license plate agency for us. It does include restructuring the garage. Most of our department heads decided or have basically said that they don't use the garage. However, I did make some transitions to include some part-time folks from the sanitation department at the garage. There are the whole voodoo math associated with the previous budget of having frozen, unfunded positions. They're gone. We're not going to use that math anymore. We're going to be very clear about the positions that we have and what the services that they provide. So I hope that answers your question in that, yes, anything right now, in all of our workshops, all of our sessions, it's been talked about for every department, there's 3 components: personnel, operations, and capital. In your budget message specifically in this budget, we talk in terms of what it means if you take one and gets the other.
Right.
This budget does nothing to address our long-term capital needs: police cars, fire trucks, nothing. And so just arbitrarily cutting it, the tax rate, doesn't meet our long-term needs. And at the end of the day, we're simply trying to provide for public safety, keep the lights on, provide drinkable water, and protect the environment.
So there is a way that every citizen can track what's spent with our city. So, because I hear a lot about this idea, like money's disappearing from somewhere, I'm not sure where. But there is a way that the public can educate themselves and see what's being spent. For instance, we heard about our water tower and the price associated with that, right? But again, with reports from different departments and boards and things of that nature, like, there's a way that we can continue to track the spending throughout the process of this budget, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
we actually look at it.
Right. So the alternative to the budget you presented compared to the budget that Councilman Davis created, we would be losing individuals, and we would still be fiscally unresponsible as to what we have to pay as a city. So it's not even just about positions or working positions. It's also the city would be going in the opposite direction.
It's also about their service levels. We would actually have a reduction in our service capacity.
So the community would have to decide what they want less of: less trash pickup, less road work, less.
Yes. That's what budgeting is about. It's based on priorities.
So what is your alternative that you're presenting to us that you would like us to look at?
So-
Besides the numbers, what are you seeing that we're going to not lose?
So, may I speak? So, our city staffing levels has gone from 235 to 261 in the last few years. So that's one area. Our population has decreased. Our tax rates have gone way up. Our payroll has gone way up. Basically, what we've come to find out, and there's a reason this is your 4th job in 5 years, but it's
Point of order.
It's your way or the highway.
Councilman Peralt,
And Nick chose the highway.
Excuse me.
Councilman Davis, there's a point of order on the floor.
Hey, if you're going to disrespect our staff and our employees the rest of the night, you need to leave. There's no reason to be doing that.
Councilman Davis, if
Um,
you just stay on the topic of
Yeah,
answering
not-
Councilman
and
Tyree's
not-
question, please.
Not to compare apples and oranges, but the city of Winterville has 97
Point
employees.
of order.
It's about
Councilman
20%
Tyree.
bigger than
Point of
us,
order.
and a 50%
Councilman Tyree.
Point of
increase
order.
in public safety.
No. I was asking, what would you like to see cut? Just to be honest with the citizens in the community. I was trying to have a conversation based on all the work that you've done to present these numbers, right? But at the end of the day, we're hearing the individuals that actually do this for a living tell us one thing, and then we have our newly elected councilman saying something else. So just so you could be heard.
Just to give you that, I'll kind of go down the list. So he's given us a 2 cent. One area I think he's going to look at is the EMS consolidation with the county, a restructure with the pool and the rec, and invest $140,000 into the youth leagues. An insurance cost share, that was one area. A COLA freeze just for 1 year, and then bring it back the following year. Overtime reduction of $800,000, that was one area. Another area I said, if we're going to be cutting everyone else, we need to cut ourselves, so let's drop our salaries down 50%. I'm okay with that. The outside agencies, I think we need to make sure that we're.
Point of order.
Councilman Tyree.
I'm giving you that.
Everything that he's providing is what's been cut from the agenda, so I would just like to move forward.
Okay,
Madam
point well
Mayor.
taken.
Madam Mayor,
Do you have a question for Mr. Rory regarding
just to respond to
proposed
his
budget?
statement.
Councilman Tyree is good. He's concluded on, he got the answer he
He
needed.
said it was covered in the agenda, but it wasn't
Yeah.
covered in the agenda because they
Well,
removed it.
Yeah, the items that were cut from the agenda were what you were talking
Yeah,
to.
but
so
he asked me what they were. I've only got a few more.
That's okay. He seems content. We can move along. Does council have any other questions for Mr. Rory about this budget? I know we've been around it 6 ways sideways, but if not, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I know that there's 2 amendments that we're gonna make on the motion. So, John, if I make a mistake, correct me. I move that the city council adopt the budget ordinance for the fiscal year 26-27, set the ad valorem tax rate at .465 per $100 value, and set the user fee schedule included in the appendix of the budget. Additionally, I move that we withhold funding for the WHGA Main Street program and also the Civic Center subsidy until certain benchmarks have been met throughout the course of the fiscal year.
Is there a second?
So moved. I'm sorry, second, sorry.
Okay.
As you were, as you were.
Is there any any further discussion from council?
Yes, I just wanted, this budget is a 23% increase on what we were elected to do, so I just want to make sure everyone knows that it's 23% increase from 2025 of June that we're voting to approve the budget,
Madam Mayor,
the ad
Councilman
valorem rate.
Peralta.
again, another mistruth and a lie. What we ran on was reducing a 28% increase. I can speak to it because sadly I aligned myself with you. So what we've done is we've reduced that down. Yes, it's only a
23% higher.
Excuse me,
That
excuse
is
me.
a fact.
Councilman Davis, Councilman
Excuse me.
Peralta has
That
the
is a
floor.
fact.
Excuse me. We can do a talking stick if we need to, but I think we're all adults here, even though I'm 26. We've done a 2-cent reduction from .48 to .465, and we have a manager and a staff who are committed to turning into their torpedoes and working to continue this reduction throughout the course of the next fiscal year to give, hopefully, more back while also providing more. As we ran on, there's ways to do this, there's ways that we discuss this. Also, to your earlier point, we all sat in budget meetings, and this is not a slight to anybody on here, I'm just saying my piece. I was one of the only people that advocated for lower spending, tax reductions.
But yet you're voting
and
for higher
control of
spending right
services.
now.
Excuse me. I'm voting for a budget that reduces the tax rate from last year.
It increases at 23% for June
No.
of 2025.
No.
From where it was at that level.
No. Again,
And so
I'm
there was
trying
no
to speak.
reason we were elected if we're
I'm
just going
trying
to
to
do the
speak.
same thing that was done in the past.
Councilman
you-
Davis, Councilman Peralta has the floor.
Can you turn his microphone off while other people are speaking? This has been a problem all night. This budget is a reduction from last year. It's what we ran on doing. It's what we accomplished. Everybody here is willing to work together to continue the reduction forward throughout the course of the next year. I'm asking that you be part of the team that's willing to do that and stop being so divisive in our community, divisive on this board, and just divisive in general. Work with us to accomplish the same goals. That is a simple ask. This isn't an I versus them situation, okay? This is a Washington situation.
Madam Mayor.
That's all I have to say on it.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis.
It's, this is a slap in the face. We're basically giving your average resident $4 a month off the 28% increase that was done in 2025. So that's how you want to vote, that's how you can vote, but I'm not gonna vote for this budget.
Do you think it's hypocritical that you're trying to get a 50% reduction on your property tax rate at the current time?
All right,
I'm not.
You are.
all
but
right.
sure.
We are going to reel this back in. Councilman Tyree.
I want to say to our manager and to the staff, thank you. This has not been an easy road. A lot of things that have been talked about and presented to you is nothing that came before council. A lot of the things that you saw out there that got you here to speak for it. Now, I appreciate that. I like for people to come and have dialogue, but a lot of those things that you see posted online, that's not something that came before council already. That's not another conversation, none of those things. What we actually see is when we get here and we can ask those questions. Mr. Rory, you have had numerous meetings, some longer than others, and I don't remember certain council members that have a lot to point out about the budget being present to hear what you were presenting to us. And what our manager presented to us was the true spending, what our city has to spend now and what we're looking at down the road. What was presented to us was each department head, the subject matter experts, actually presenting what their departments are facing, not just this year, but in the upcoming years. What was presented to us was the subject matter experts actually speaking to us as a whole, letting us know that this money goes towards these things. This isn't just something that we want extra. This is something that we need to continue moving the city forward. Our employees that the department heads are standing up there to speak for, I know we don't always see them, but their voices mean they're speaking for every last person that works under them or beside them. That's how that goes. So as a councilman, I don't get to get down in the weeds. I thank you for pointing out the statutes that tell us to stay out of the weeds. But we have to listen to the manager, who we are under the impression that he's taking guidance from his department heads and the people that are working with those departments. We don't get to come up here and tell you that they're lying. We don't get to come up here and tell you that we don't need X amount of linemen or firemen and everything else because we can cut a budget because I ran my campaign saying I could cut it blindly and you don't have to deal with anything. I don't think that's fair. But what I do think is fair is that you came in at a time, a hectic time, and you had a budget in front of you, and you actually presented that budget to us with a breakdown of said budget, and you were still able to move forward to get this budget balanced so the city of Washington isn't continuing to look like we've been looking here over the past few months. So thank you to the team, thank you to the folks who came to the table, those countless long meetings. We appreciate you from this bench because we don't do what you do. And ChatGPT cannot give me the numbers that you create and get me to think of it in any other way except for what you see boots on the ground. So I appreciate that.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Councilman Tyree. Councilman Davis?
Councilman Tyree, you were right. Everything. We blew up the whole hierarchy of this city government to rubber stamp exactly what you did, Mayor Sadler did, and Jonathan Russell did. We have no purpose to be up here because all we're doing is rubber stamping exactly what y'all have done. So if that's what we do, y'all were correct. We wasted everyone in the city of Washington time, the record number of voters, because y'all were correct. Y'all had Jonathan Russell did a great job. Mayor Sadler did a great job. Anthony Tyree, you did a great job. Mr. Horton, you did a great job.
Madam
Mr.
Mayor,
Brooks,
I'd
who's
like to
not
call
here
the
anymore.
question.
Y'all did a great job because we've been here 7 months and we gave them exactly the
Councilman
same
Peralt
thing that
has
they
made a
had.
motion. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? The motion is to end debate.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? All right, motion carries. At this time, the main motion on the floor is to adopt the budget ordinance for fiscal year 27 with the amendments that Councilman Peralt put forth. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All right, motion carries. At this time, we'll move on. Are there any other items from our city manager this evening? Remember, you weren't feeling too great, Mr. Rory.
I'm not, and so that complicates it. No, I don't have any more comments. I'll reserve to keep them to myself at this point.
Okay. Any other business from council?
Yes.
Councilman
We
Tyree.
spoke about this last meeting, and I wanted to say we could move forward with it now, of getting somewhat of a state of the city address or conversation with the community that they can address council directly. You know, kind of like, you know, they possibly, one format is questions are sent in and we ensure that they're not personal in nature, but city-based questions that people really want answers for. We sit up here, we talk about the budget and what we're spending and capital improvements, and everyone doesn't know what a capital improvement is, but I think they deserve to because that's where their money's going. So I would like to really push that forward if we could to get that within the next few months or so. Well, before the summer ends especially, if possible. Madam Mayor, your thoughts on that, because I'm pushing that towards you before I push it to him.
Okay. No, I think that would be a great idea. Put together like a moderated town hall type of format. Maybe we could have like a working group discussion to kind of flesh out what that would look like, get some dates to have a meeting to discuss what that would look like. Does that work, Mr. Roy? Okay, I think that'd be great. Any other new business from council? All right, hearing none.
No new business, but can I say something?
Sure, floor is yours, Councilman Horton.
All right, so I want to back up and just say to the Madam Mayor and my city councilman that forgive me, my mother, been raised in a single parent home. My mother taught me years ago when I was a youngster that your name is all you got. So she taught me about character and all of that stuff. So I just want to say I apologize, but however, when someone just keep poking the bear and poking the bear, sometimes we can act in a way. And I'll close with this, that it bothers me that we just throw, and since we want to keep mixing this with religion, we keep throwing the Bible and God's name out like we talking about To Kill a Mockingbird or John Doe. That bothers me. It really, really bothers me because I'm big on my faith. It bothers me to the core. So I'll close with this, and I'll say this, that I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in karma. But one thing I do believe, and I'll take it to the bank, that vengeance is mine, and he will repay. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Horton.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Peralt.
I think as a council, we should probably look at our code of ethics again. I think nobody's not at fault, or nobody's free of being at fault, however the saying goes. But, you know, the past month has been a little interesting for us in terms of, you know, the issues that Mr. Rory brought up. I was attacked for my religion by another council member's family. You know, other council members have been attacked as well, and I think we as a group need to really sit down and say, okay, it's been, what, 16 years? Is that right, 2010?
Yeah, 2010.
It's been 16 years. Maybe it's time to look at a code of ethics and figure out exactly what is needed now that we're dealing with new issues. Because, you know, what's been done to me, what's been done to the council member next to me, those are things that I would never do to another person. It's just wrong and not right. And I know Mr. Russell's family is here tonight, and to be honest, it's time to move forward. You know, he did his job while he was here to the best of his ability. Stop dragging his name through the mud, because if it was done to you, I'm sure you would be quick to throw around accusations and legal terms and craziness. And we've been awarded a deal of respect that I'm sure is quick to run out. And it's just time to stop stepping over people and give good governance to the city.
Thank you, Councilman Peralt. Councilman Terry.
Councilman Peralt, thank you for that. And I also want to take just a brief second to let the families of and the people in the community, our community members, even the visitors know there's a way that we can have discourse. We don't have to agree on everything. But dividing individuals based on anything is absolutely not what this council has stood for. A lot of the things you see is just the opinion of one person. It's not the council as a whole. A nuclear family, I would be under the impression, just hearing what Councilman Peralt said, we're about families, period. Everyone doesn't have the opportunity to grow up a certain way or to have certain people present, and it's okay. That doesn't mean that you're shunned or pushed to the side here. That's not what we're about here. You just heard Councilman Horton speak to his background. Everyone has a different background, and we're all making it the best way that we can. One of the biggest things that I think that we need to look at is we cannot agree and still be professional and move forward. We don't have to create a space where you got to pick a side based on if you like me or not. Let's get back to statute, let's get back to what we can and can't do, and let's get back to educating the community so we don't have some of these things that came up in the last election come up again. We can actually educate folks on what council can and cannot do. Sometimes they'll see why in the past council has been a little bit more quieter than they have this time, because there's statute out there that says if you go beyond this space, you put yourself into a different position. So again, I would like to apologize just coming from this bench, period. That is not what your city council is about. We're about listening, and everybody's not gonna always get the answer that makes them okay. I get it. But sometimes we have to look at it from a different position to say, how does it affect all? Not just the ones that voted for us, but the ones who didn't vote and the ones that purposely didn't vote for us. That's okay. But we cannot continue with the divisive rhetoric, the divisive language, even on social media, and attacking the very people who literally keep your lights on. We can't keep doing that. and saving our loved ones' lives even when we're out of town. We can't keep doing that.
Thank you, Councilman Tyree.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis.
I'm gonna be really quick. Since he brought faith into it, Jesus brought division. If you look at Luke 12:51, and another thing, truth divides from error. And you know, well, Satan, he knows Scripture, but he misinterprets it better than anyone. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. At this time, do I have a motion for closed session?
So move.
No, let's go in the closed session.
It's like, we already adopted our agenda.
Yeah, it's so moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, at this time, we're moving into closed session under NCGS 143-318.11A, 6, personnel, A3, attorney-client privilege, and A5, contract negotiations.
I ain't going back there. I should have.